I'm Elisa Donovan, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Anne.
Guess what, folks? It's the day of the show. We are talking in the future, and it is the day of Annie Live. When you are listening to this, I will be packing my go bag and getting ready to head over to Anne and her partner's home to watch Annie Live, starring Megan Hilty and Nicole Scherzinger. The two people I'm most excited for.
Honestly, I'm so excited about it. If you watched the Thanksgiving Day Parade, which, like, if you didn't, I don't know what you're doing with your life. It's the best day of the year. I couldn't get over just how terrible Harry Connick Jr. appeared to be. Like, I thought, okay, decent choice.
Visually or vocally or both?
Oh, both. 100% both. He seemed extremely awkward. Look, he's done Broadway musicals before. I didn't see him in The Pajama Game, but I saw him on the Tonys, and I thought he was so charming. And then I saw him in this, and I thought, you are completely charmless. You look really awkward. He didn't know what to do with his hands. His button was, like, buttoned too tight. And then we have to get to the bald cap, which, if you zoom in on it, was full of wrinkles. He looked terrified for his life.
He should have just buzzed it. He's probably been in rehearsals long enough that he could have just buzzed it and worn a bald cap over, you know what I mean? Like, he could have just shaved his head, like, for real.
It really was unnatural. There was really no chemistry between he and Selena Smith, the young woman who's playing Annie, who to me has like the face of an older woman, which I love on a child. To me, that is like,
I love her face,
the plucky orphan that you want. So I have high hopes that if it's not good, it will be bad good. I'm really sad that Andrea McArdle dropped out of the show. I'm concerned that
she has COVID for sure, right?
She for sure has COVID, 100%.
They said a family affair, and I was like, okay, so either her or Alexis, her daughter has COVID, one of them.
Hopefully they're both vaccinated and fine, and they'll be protected. I need McArdle to stay with us, but I did love that they included her, the original OBC Annie.
Do you think, so for context, Andrea McArdle, original Annie on Broadway, grown woman now. They gave her a cameo as Eleanor Roosevelt, who plays a cameo in Annie the Musical. This is for listeners who might not be familiar. Andrea McArdle dropped out. Do you think they will replace Andrea McArdle with Eileen Quinn, Annie from the original film? Do you think they'll call a favor into Sarah Jessica Parker to play Eleanor Roosevelt quickly, lickety-split?
Okay, that would be incredible. It would honestly put Sarah Jessica Parker back in my good graces if she chose to play Eleanor Roosevelt, like, in lifts, because she's so short. They'd have to, like, put her in 6-inch
Get her back in your
heels.
good graces after she pissed off Kim Cattrall for not giving her a producing credit in Sex and the City.
Literally, you know, I have a lot of love for SJP, but it has gone sour. So yeah, if they bring in an original Annie, I'm back on board. You know, there's Shelley Bruce, who was Annie number 2.
I don't think they're going to call Shelley, and if I'm being transparent with my thoughts.
No, you're right.
Eileen and Jess JP, give them good press stories.
Aileen Quinn would be a great fit. She's so good in the movie Annie, which I think is severely underrated. Look, if you can't tell, we are extremely excited about this. I have to say, I watched the trailer, and I thought the best part of it, I think Taraji's going to be good. I think she's so
too.
Charming. I think Taraji's going to be good. And I actually thought Nicole Scherzinger looked like she had the Grace vibe down pat. Here's the thing. Grace doesn't get as much to do in the stage show as she does in the movie. So we'll see if they incorporate songs from the movie into the stage musical the way they do, like, with Grease.
I hope that they give her some of Anne Reiking. Like, Nicole can dance. So I hope that they give her some of, like, Anne Reiching's, like, fun dancing when she's like, what is that song called?
We Got Annie.
Is that in the show?
No, it's not in the stage show.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay. That's a disappointment. Yeah, I was actually looking forward to watching Nicole sort of, like, dance around. I will tell you, I have some intel. I have a source close to the production who told me that the Star to Be, again, for listeners who might not be familiar, it has a real belt NYC number. That's what I'm going to describe it as.
Yeah.
I thought that they would cast like a Broadway sort of like star, up-and-coming star, like somebody who like I'm not even that excited about, but just like a big belter who could do it and would be like, oh, Broadway people would know. And I heard that it's not anybody. It's not a name.
Ooh.
Now, by the time this comes out, there may be a press release and I may be eating crow, but that's what I heard. I heard that it's not like a name.
They just got somebody that can sing it really well.
And I'm into that, honestly. I'm into the Star to Be track setting up somebody to be a star.
I love that because it was originally on Broadway. The great Laurie Beechman, may she rest in peace, one of the greatest voices of our generation. When I heard her part in NYC, I froze as a kid, and I would just fast forward to the parts that had her in it. In Herbert Hoover, in NYC, she has one of the greatest voices of a generation. So yeah, let's see who the star to be is. They did cast McCardle in it in the last iteration of Annie.
The ABC version.
Right, which was also fascinating because she was probably in like her early 40s at the time, and I just thought, I love what they're doing with this. They will give Andrea McCardle like a pass at all points, and I love it.
Yeah, she was not in the Kavanaugh Wallace one, I don't think, though. No cameo, I don't think.
I think that's right. They had no time for her.
I did love that version also. But I will say that, and back to Laurie Beechman for a minute, Seth Rudetsky does this great breakdown. You should watch it on YouTube.
Yes,
it's excellent.
Yes.
Laurie Beechman's voice somehow manages to be like the most modern musical theater belt, but also like it's not modern at all. Like the way that everybody just belts all the time now was not obviously the standard then. So in that way, it feels like what she's doing was modern. But if you listen to it, it doesn't sound like the way people belt now, so it's not modern. And I don't know how to describe it other than that, and I love it.
Such a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Please go to the show notes now and listen to that. I mean, we lost Laurie Beechman far too soon. And you know what? The Laurie Beechman Theater still is in business in New York City, so go see some drag there. Go see some cabaret. My God, I feel really high on like leftover Thanksgiving, Laurie Beechman, Annie Live. Talk to me. You're looking at me with hands
Hello, and welcome to our show. Hello and welcome to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Anne.
I'm Anne.
And I'm Damien, and what you just heard was what we do on this show, which is we are serving you our chaotic mind grapes, talking about Annie Live. We're so excited. We hope you're tuning in with us tonight. We will be on social talking about it, and we are over the moon for it. But this is our little show where we do this, and then we also sandwich, our insane stuff on the beginning and the end, and we have an interview with an actor in the middle. So we're so glad to have you here today, and we hope you are doing well.
Yeah, we hope you had a good holiday break and that you got to either relax alone, spend some time with friends and family, eat a lot. I am trying to avoid potatoes for the day because we had Thanksgiving plus Hanukkah this weekend. And so I ate my weighted mashed potatoes followed by 10 to 12 latkes yesterday afternoon for Hanukkah. So I'm trying to avoid that. Also, I think I would be remiss to not mention some of the biggest news that has come across our plate in the last, since the podcast. And that is, of course, that we lost Stephen Sondheim at the age of 91 this past week. And when I tell you, it's just been hitting me each day in a new way, bursting into tears. And I wouldn't even say that I am like a Sondheim aficionado. Do I love his work? Yes. I am also a Candor and Ebb person. Like, I don't know Sondheim like the back of my hand. I do love so many of his shows and know so much of his work, but I just didn't anticipate that it was going to hit me as hard as it did. And luckily, my partner and her family were already planning to be over at our house to watch Tick, Tick, Boom on Friday night. That was already the plan. And then when we got the news that morning that he had passed away, it was a very nice, fitting tribute to watch that, which I was so pleasantly surprised by. I really loved that adaptation. I thought it was really good. And I've been watching a lot of Sondheim clips all weekend. So I hope that you all are versed in the world of Stephen Sondheim, but we're going to put a lot of good clips in the show notes if you are a virgin to Sondheim. So
yeah, I thought Tick, Tick, Boom was a really nice way for me to hold space for him this past weekend. I watched it on Sunday, and then that whole Sunday morning brunch scene just really made me a puddle. And I have to say that I thought that the actor who portrayed Sondheim in Tick, Tick, Boom was very good. I think there was a scenario where I was concerned, but then I actually was thought it was quite good. And also I was quite touched by the presence. I didn't know Tick, Tick, Boom super well. So his entire presence in the show just really was very special. So highly recommend Tick, Tick, Boom. And I hope that you are familiar with Sondheim even a little bit. And we should include some of our favorites. I saw someone on Twitter, I think Ryan Street, talking about who the definitive version of Getting Married Today. Is it Madeline Kahn's version?
Yeah, for me it is. But I also love VN Cox.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's very good.
And I mean, Beth Howland is a genius. And I rewatched the Company Cast Recording documentary by D.A. Pennebaker on Criterion this weekend and was just blown away by the talent that existed then. It's between Company and Sweeney for me in terms of my favorite Sondheim shows. I love both of them unequivocally. And though I have questions about the current Company revival on Broadway, I will be seeing it.
Yeah, it's Company for sure, number one. But I would say that Into the Woods, I'm not certain how I know if I'm as familiar with it as a piece entirely. But it's I know it as a kid, so it brings a certain level of pleasure and joy to me. So
agreed. Into the Woods also top 3 for me.
Also, a pivot here.
Pivot, baby.
But I don't know we have time to talk about it today, but I just want to put on the radar for our listeners who were on board for Real World Homecoming Season 1. I want to let y'all know that Season 2 has returned. It's with the LA cast. The first episode was, it was good television, but it was not sort of comforting the way the first season was. But I want y'all to get on Paramount Plus and watch it with us, because I think we got to break it down here.
We have to break it down. LA, I think, is one of the forgotten seasons because people think they went right to San Francisco. But there's a lot of drama embedded within LA between Tammy, Beth, and David. Then there's Beth, the lesbian, who really has undergone a fascinating transformation. Anyway, the LA cast, I agree. It's live. New episodes are every Thursday. So you're going to have a fresh one as of today to watch. So get into it.
You know what else we got to get into? We got to get into this week's guest, Elisa Donovan. We were just thrilled to sit down with her and chat, and it was really like an unexpected joy. We were obviously familiar with her like iconic screen work, but I listened to her book in preparation for the interview, and my golly, I was quite taken with it. So we're going to get into all of that, but she was just an absolute pleasure and had the most beautiful red Aquarian hair, and I was just so happy to have her on the show, and I think y'all are gonna like this one.
You might know her from Clueless,
Sabrina the Teenage Witch,
A Night at the Roxbury,
The Dog Who Saved Christmas films,
and her memoir, Wake Me When You Leave.
Okay, we are just so pleased to be here with actress and author Elisa Donovan. Elisa, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So our audience is probably most familiar with your work in Clueless and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and we're going to get to all of that. But what we really want to talk to you about first is the book that you just published this year, Wake Me When You Leave, Love and Encouragement via Dreams from the Other Side. In fact, the audiobook, which you narrated, just came out this past September. Mm-hmm. And I was quite taken with it, and I hope that I'm not getting too personal too soon, but I've actually been working on my own grief for my father's death, which was 13 years ago, but it's something that very recently came up in therapy. And so listening to your book in preparation was sort of this, I was in its own way kind of eerie, because I was like, oh, that's strange that this is what this book is about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's some context for our listeners, but from my understanding, the book started as a theatrical piece. When and how did you decide to then adapt it into a book? And were you also chronicling your dreams at the time that this was all happening, or was it something that you sort of had to mine the experiences for?
Yes, I've always been chronicling my dreams. It's been a part since I was a kid, but I started to use it as part of my creative process with my acting teachers, one specific teacher and creative group, maybe right around the time. Oh, I never thought about this. It was right around the time that my dad passed away, or shortly after. So I started to really utilize dreams for, if I was working on a character, you can talk to your write a letter to your unconscious and ask for some messages while you're sleeping. And through Carl Jung's work and all sorts of other teachers of mine. So I was writing down the dreams all along. And when the play, I first had the idea, first of all, I wanted to write it as a book from the start. But what happens when you are an actor and you tell people that you're going to write a book, they kind of drift off and, start to do their laundry list, especially when you tell your agents that and then when you tell them, okay, I'm going to do a play, they really start to fall asleep. So they're really not that interested. But I did do it as a play because people said, colleagues and friends said, well, you're a performer. You should do it as a performance piece. And while I wanted to do that and did, and the experience was really incredibly fulfilling for me, but also really moving to the audience, I felt like in that moment, everything clicked. And I went, this is the kind of work that I want to do going forward as a creative person and just as a person on the planet. I thought I want things to have this kind of meaning and effect. And then from that I went back to the book, and it's had this very labyrinthine journey. Did I answer your question?
Oh yeah. My question was also 7 questions wrapped up with my own stuff. Yeah, no, absolutely you did.
One of the things is like you paint these honest portrayals of, your mother and your siblings in the book. Was that something that you needed to share with them before you went to publication? Or was it something that you said, like, I'm going to write this is for me, and it's just being put into the world?
Yes. So my mom and my brother both came to the play, and they had not read it before. So there was one moment in the play where it was one of the more serious moments when my dad was really deteriorating and we were all at home before he passed away. There's a lot of levity in the play and in the book, I hope, too. And it was one of these moments that was not funny, though. And I heard my mom in the audience do this uncomfortable laugh. And I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if she's going to have an episode right now in front of everyone and start, like, I don't even know, laughing out loud uncontrollably. And I just thought, I'm going to have to just improv this whole thing and see what happens, And then she didn't, and she went through it, and they both really loved the play. And then when I got the book deal, I changed everyone's names in the book except for my mom and my dad, because it just allowed me to feel more free in writing it. And then but they do have to sign a release. And the only people that had to sign the releases are my family, because it's obvious, even if you change their names, it's obvious my brother is my brother, for example. So I started to get nervous then. And I thought, what are they going to say? Because we all have our own experiences of everything, right? And that whole idea that there are 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. I was a little nervous about it. But when I sent them the releases, they didn't ask to read the book. And I was like, phew, okay, great. Like, just get it back to me real quick, just quick as you can. But my mom loves it. And my brother, he had read just the introduction and told me it was great and that something was funny. And then he never said anything again. So I don't know how he feels about the whole thing.
Right.
And your sister, did she have to sign off
on
it as well?
My sister, who is really the most avid reader in our family, aside from me, has not said a peep. She hasn't said a word, nothing. And I think, oh my gosh.
She read it. She read it.
But I don't think the publisher said to me when I said, do I have to get other people's permission? And she said, my editor said no, because, no one else is identifiable. But she said, when you don't throw anybody under the bus, it's not like this is some, exploitative book or something. But I feel like because it is so intimate, it's almost worse, It would be one thing if you say, oh, this person, did something horrible, and then they can deny it or agree. But that intimacy part is what is so, it makes people uncomfortable.
Well, I highly recommend it to our listeners. And the book was optioned for film with you attached to direct. And I know that in the sort of epilogue, you sort of addressed that, like, funding fell through for it. But can you give me an update and tease anything? So
it is in development. No one has officially optioned it because I wrote the screenplay already. I'm hoping that it will all come together and that we'll be able to shoot in the new year. But if you know anybody who wants to, the
Deep
book
pockets.
coming out is helping us greatly.
Yeah. Okay, so Elisa, you of course played Amber in Amy Heckerling's 1995 American classic. That's what we're calling it, Clueless.
I love it.
The film is, for so many of us, a cultural touchstone, and your portrayal of Cher's frenemy is iconic. So we have a few questions. Please bear with us as we get into it. So one of the things that we had learned was that Nicole Bilderback, who played Summer in the movie, was actually on hold for Amber because you were attached to another project at the time. Can you tell us, what was that project, and did you make the decision, or did it fall through? And what can you tell us about the sort of audition experience?
I was like, was I? But now I remember that I had been hired to do an episode of the show Blossom, the sitcom, with Mayim and Joey. And they hired me for one episode. And then we had a great dynamic. I played Joey's girlfriend. But we had such a great rapport, they started writing me into more episodes. And so I was supposed to shoot another episode, and they didn't know if they could get me out of it. And also because I didn't have I wasn't a contracted recurring character. It was just a constant guest star because we had just begun. So basically we had to decide whether I was going to turn that down and do Clueless or, say yes to that. And that's, I think, what it was. And then they never had me back on Blossom. I think the show ended though, but I mean, it didn't end because I didn't come back, but
you were like, you know what? We can't go on.
Really
we can't go on.
We cannot go on.
You have so many memorable costumes, and I did not fact check this, but this is off the top of my head. The maroon dress you wear to the Valley party that Cher wore the week prior, the striped Wicked Witch of the East tights you're wearing, I think, during the photo shoot by the fountain, the tutu that you wear with Jeremy Sisto while you guys are dancing to the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. You have your Dr. Seuss wiry pigtails. You have your sailor cap in debate class. Did you get to keep any of these costumes? And if so, which ones? Do you have any of these things on a shelf somewhere?
Everybody asks this, and Paramount is like a lockdown, hardcore. They are checking your pockets when you leave that place, especially on that film. The wardrobe was so important that I feel like those things are in the Smithsonian or something. I don't have anything. I mean, I think I do have the crew jacket that they gave us all, which it's gigantic. And it's like a winter park. It's this thing. It's very unwieldy and unclueless and I don't think I have anything. I had something from the show once, I remember. And then I realized, it was this pink plastic, pleather bomber jacket, I think. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'll wear this around. And then I went, what am I, on drugs? I'm not going to go out walking wearing this. Why do I have this?
We were talking about how the costumes are such a huge part of the film, and it's we were like, oh, it's so representative, and then it was no, it's not actually even representative of the era. I feel like it existed in its own world, and after the fact became iconic, such that now people are wearing Cher's outfits, teenagers are now wearing Cher's yellow plaid.
Yep. I can't believe that is happening, and at the time, I don't remember people wearing knee socks around and things. It didn't have that sort of effect, right? It was its own.
It was pre-Spice Girls. So the Spice Girls wore platform shoes and knee-high socks. And I remember being in junior high, and girls would start pulling, and I wanted to pull their shirt, untuck their shirts out of a sweater. So they'd have a collared shirt on, and that was cool. But that was
on the bottom of the sweater, right?
Yeah, and that was
totally.
2 or 3 years after Clueless.
Yes, because I remember we were shooting the series of Clueless when the Spice Girls film came out, I think, or they were either big or what, maybe it was the same time. And we were all going, isn't this they're just wearing our wardrobe? What are they doing? Yeah. Does anybody see that this is the same thing? But it did. Yeah, Mona May really was amazing.
Incredible. Yeah. So being a 20-something playing a high schooler is such a classic Hollywood trope. Can you talk about sort of what is the vibe on set when it's full of young 20-somethings playing high schoolers? Is it reminiscent of high school, or is it sort of in a good way or in a nightmarish way?
It felt nothing like my high school, I will tell you. But I mean, it was fun. It was going to work with your peers, but it was, for most of us, one of the first things that we had really done. And so, for me, I most of the time was just thinking, I can't believe I'm here. I want to do the best job I can do because I want to be invited back. I want to continue to work. And I was so excited to be there. I mean, we laughed a lot. And there's certainly, on any kind of film set, you become like a family. And then families also have their dynamics that can be very, unhealthy sometimes. And so I think we certainly had all of those things too. But yeah, I mean, looking back, it is weird to be in an environment where virtually everyone that you're working with is the same age, and we're all not that far out of what we're doing. It was bizarre. I will say it was bizarre.
Okay, so Elisa, go with me on this. It's a really weird specific that I've sort of thought about for a long time. So I was always obsessed with the beginning when Cher's like setting up the film and she's like, there's a montage and she's like, is this a Noxema commercial or something? Right. And in this montage, there's a scene of you and Cher and Dion and you're like at a soda shop and I think you actually feed a cherry to a waiter. And like the premise then is that like, to me, is that these are like the three cool girls. But then the movie like introduces you as sort of like an antagonist to Cher. And I'm just wondering like, is there anything there? Like, was that part of your backstory? Did something get changed while filming? Is there a story? I feel like your response made me feel like there is.
Because I think about that too. That image that there's a photograph of that also. I mean, there tons of press photos, but one that has been used pretty frequently is of that moment. And while we were shooting, it was really just because Amy wanted me to be in the movie more. It didn't really make sense that I was there. And we knew that it didn't make sense that I was there. But she was like, come on, once in a while, you guys have fun with her. Like once in a while, And so that was what we did. They just put me in there. And then because I always had something awesome on. And it was like she just wanted me in there. And and Bill Pope, who was the DP, who is an extraordinary cinematographer, he loved having me in there too, because the wardrobe, like everything just always added to the motif of what was happening. So, they're like, put her in there. Because if you notice, she's in the background. I'm in the background of a lot of shots, like just walking by or doing, which that wouldn't normally be happening. But Bill and Amy would be like, get in there. Elisa, come here.
Well, and it's also because you're like the red to Cher's blonde and Dion's like brunette, and
yes.
It's
like Charlie's Angels,
exactly. And she's also sort of the frenemy is like in the lexicon now, but I feel like this 1995, this was like before that was a thing where it's like you have friends that you're like, yeah, like they're my go out friend, but like not really.
It feels real. I mean, that does feel like high school where you're like, oh yeah, that person was around. I didn't remember that we hung out with them, but didn't we hate them?
Exactly. Didn't we hate them? Why was she always, and then you think, why was that person, why did they keep showing up? Like, did they know that they weren't liked? Did they know that people were like,
And like, why did I invite them to my birthday party,
Exactly. Yeah, that was always kind of what was, especially when we did the series, which we did for 3 years. It was a challenge to keep that dynamic going of, okay, really? Is she still hanging out with you guys? That then we had to kind of become friends, but then I was always not doing, it was innovative writing.
We were interested in this. Yeah, Damien.
Yeah, so you were actually one of many of the original cast members who returned to the Clueless TV show, which was on ABC and then moved to the UPN later.
Yes.
Stacey Dash returned, Donald Faison, Wallace Shawn, Twink Kaplan, all reprised their roles, and then Cher and was recast, and Ty was like barely in it. Amber becomes less of that frenemy and more of a true friend, like you were saying. Like, as an actor in your work, did you have to like recalibrate the character for the show, or were you just kind of like, I'm just gonna roll with it?
I felt like it's such a good question. Nobody has ever asked me that, and I've been like, this was a hard situation. Because one, I realized at a certain point, I went, it's kind of not that enjoyable to go to work and be the person that no one wants to be around. Obviously that was not the case personally speaking on set, but always playing that person who nobody wants around. And I went, God, I wonder, is this ever going to change? But then also I had to try to figure out how to, for one thing, from the beginning, anytime you play a character who has so many characteristics that are perhaps unpalatable to most people, you have to figure out a way to become palatable, to make people want either love to hate you or to just want to be around you. So it's kind of like, I always would look at it from the perspective of, what does she want? Why is she this way? It's just that she just wants more friends and she's insecure. So she uses her money to make it seem like she has, she doesn't need anybody and all that sort of stuff. So I'm always trying to do that sort of thing. But then with the actual dialogue and the storylines, it was hard because they wanted me in it, and I was in it more and more and more, but they had to figure out how to, how to do that. And then with the show, like they would put Donald and Sean Holland and I on these capers, like they would do, because where Amber would take Murray and Sean and like kind of make them do things for her. And so that was like one way that they got around it. And, they did things with my family so that you could see, oh, she kind of has a screwed up home life. So, perhaps she needs some more love from her friends. So there was always something. Yeah.
So on a bit of a more serious note, you've talked very openly about your past struggles with anorexia and have said that it was during the time that you were filming Clueless that you decided to seek treatment. So if you don't mind sharing, like, how does that experience sort of shape your relationship to this film, which is so beloved by so many people? And did you have a support system on the film set that you were able to sort of go to? No, I did not have a support system on the set. And this is one of these things that I always try to talk around, because nobody really wants to hear that it wasn't this amazing experience all the time shooting that movie, But for me, it was not, because of that very thing. It was, this great experience was juxtaposed against me losing my fucking mind. I really felt like I was, and the whole reason I went into recovery when we were shooting the film is because I went into the hospital and I'm going to lose my job. I am going to lose, this is serious business. A lot of people like to simplify things and make it seem as though, oh, Hollywood's so terrible and it gives women all these issues. Sure, it encourages a lot of behaviors or turns a blind eye, but something as serious and specific as anorexia, it does not come from, being in a movie. It's something that I showed up there with, and I kind of look at that film in that period of time as I'm grateful for it, because it helped me to actually commit to getting help. And it's this weird mixed bag of feelings for me, truly, but there were some times on set where I was just like, oof. I was just spun out in my brain, and I just read books all the time. I was a person in my, first of all, I think I might have been the only one who actually had read Emma before we got there. Like nobody even knew what that was, Like I was a 19th century English novel, English lit major in college, and everyone's like, what? And I was on set reading, Dickens and other things, and James Baldwin and all these books, and everybody's like, what? I remember I was reading David Copperfield, and somebody said, did they write a book about him? And I was like, about who? What? And they're like, he just got married. And I was like, what are you talking about? They said to Claudia Schiffer. And I said, I gotta, what is happening? Like, where am I? You're living the Clueless set.
Yes. But at any rate, so it was it's a strange thing to go through, to have to be, and especially playing a character that was so about not only what she looked like, but specifically what she wore. So I had to constantly look at myself in the mirror, like more so than any other role I've ever played, I think. Certainly, you always have, if fittings are, I don't know anybody that likes them, any actor or actress, like they're kind of the worst things. But especially for me at that time, I just went, oh my gosh, this is a big come to Jesus lesson for me, Yeah.
I'm so glad you were able to seek help in that moment, but was there any part of sort of having the Clueless TV show as like a coda to that experience that was more positive?
Totally.
To be able to sort of like put a bow on it in a different way?
Yes. That's such a great point. It really did feel to me in so many ways like, oh, I get to not only inhabit this character more fully and for a longer period, because in the show she had a bigger part in the entire show, but also to feel as though I get to really embody this person without, I was still in the beginning stages of recovery. It's a really long process, but I felt like I could enjoy it so much more. You know, I didn't have that stuff all the time right here. I mean, it takes many years to, I would actually say that probably my dad passing away was one of those, there are kind of markers, I think, that happen to kind of gauge your recovery. And for me, it's always, there were two things. When I shot A Night at the Roxbury, I felt like that was the first time where I was working, because we were shooting days on the series of Clueless, and then I was shooting that at night. And then we had a few days, like there was a week or 2 weeks, I think, that was like that, where I was shooting almost 24 hours a day. And it was the first time where I had to look at food as like, you have got to eat and don't have any feelings about it. This is not about your feelings. This is about actually having enough fuel to fuel your body and your brain, and just getting over it, you know? And it was very helpful to me, because I went, oh, this is healthy. Like, I need to feed my body. So that was one marker. And then when my dad passed away, I remember it being through the whole time when he was sick, that I, you know, at home, when we were all at home, that last couple of weeks, you know, it was kind of like, just do what needs to be done. Oh, we need to eat. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to cook. I'm going to like cook dinner for everyone, which were prior to that, I wouldn't want to be in the kitchen. You know, I wouldn't want to, it was just always kind of like, do anything to not think about it. And it actually brought me to this place of food is community and food is helpful. And it's a way to show you care for someone. You know, it kind of, that marker also really showed me, oh, wow, you've come a very long way, you know? So the whole recovery process is a long one, but yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And it's really like illuminating to hear about sort of these markers, and like how, and again, how like sort of in sadness, how you can recognize your strength in other ways. Yes.
I remember there was a moment my brother and I, and, you know, it was like chaos in the house, and my dad was super sick, and my mom was, you know, like, she was very like, oh, everything's fine, you know, like just kind of like buzzing around like a hummingbird around the kitchen. And I was like cooking a chicken with these vegetables, and I looked at my brother and I just said, like, am I cooking a chicken right now? Like, what am I doing? And he's like, you're cooking a chicken. And I'm like, well, all right. Like, this is pretty great, you know? And then we're laughing about it, but yeah, that's life.
Okay, so from 2000 to 2003, you played Morgan Cavanaugh, one of Sabrina's college roommates and her RA on the OG Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Mm-hmm. Morgan is sort of this spoiled, fashion-obsessed woman who eventually becomes one of Sabrina's best friends. So your character, along with Soleil Moon Frye's character, Roxy, were part of this mix-up for the series when it was moved from ABC to the WB. Can you talk about what it was like to join this series that was, like, very established, had sort of, like, was, I assume, a well-oiled machine, and you were sort of part of this, like, rebirth?
Yes. So the funny thing is, our 5th episode was their 100th episode. So there was a huge party, and there was all this press and all these things, you know, big cake. And they, you know, were like, how does it feel if it had to do 100 episodes? And, you know, I said, it feels like 5. That's what it feels like. You know, first of all, Paula, who is Melissa's mom and the executive producer, super family-oriented person. I mean, that set was like a giant family, and they welcome you into that family. And so I felt a little intimidated for that reason, that everybody had been together for so long. But also I remembered that the first year, so Clueless and Sabrina started the same year on ABC. And we were both on the sides of buses and in huge billboards and all these things. And Clueless was the show that was going to be the hit of Friday nights for ABC. Clueless very quickly did not have the same kind of following that they had hoped it would. Crazy. It was geared towards a younger crowd, the show, the whole thing was not quite what they wanted it to be. And Sabrina was like this giant hit. So it went from, we kind of switched positions and how they thought we were going to be this huge show, and oh, here's a show about this witch. And then it just went whoop, the show about the witch is going to live on forever. And Clueless is going to go to another network for 2 years and then not, So it was a funny thing that I went, this is like another one of these life moments where you go, oh, I met Melissa at the upfronts the first year we were in New York, the first year we were all together, and thought, I'm never going to get to know this person. I'm never going to see her, to then going, oh, now I'm going to be working together with you and my show is done. And it's just one of these funny things that entertainment is always so unpredictable in that way. But I love them. I love Melissa. She's a total pro, and she's also hilarious, and she's just a good person. She's a good person. And that whole crew was amazing. All the camera guys, all hair and makeup, like everybody, it was a good group.
I don't know that you had that many opportunities to, but can you describe, please, what it was like acting opposite that little motherfucking cat puppet, a.k.a. Salem the Cat?
I was just this morning trying to find this photo of me in a bathtub with that motherfucking cat. So I had a spell put on me, and I also can't remember what it was. I think, yes, he must have put a spell on me, I think. And I was in a bathtub with the animatronic cat, right? So first of all, and that was another thing that the first couple of weeks of shooting with that cat, I went, I don't even understand what is going on here. Like, how are we supposed to do this?
It's so
and they
cool.
were so used to it, right? Because the cat has this whole team of technical puppeteers and people that are operating the cat. So when you work with the cat, you're like on time, because the cat does not mess around, like they know what they're doing. The cat doesn't screw up his lines, it's all good. But then sometimes they would put in the real live cat to run across or to do something. And I remember the second season that I was on, or maybe it was the third. I think it was the third. I had broken my wrist over the summer hiatus because I was doing back handsprings on wet grass at night in Laguna. Sidebar. And
impressive, honestly.
At far too old of an age to have been doing so. Also in flip-flops.
I was about to say, I did a cartwheel like last month, and I was like, this is so painful. How could anyone ever do this?
Exactly.
Like, this hurts.
That's exactly right. That's correct. It was terrible. So I had a cast on, full cast up to my shoulder. And then right before we started, like a week before, they took off the big cast and I just had the little cast. So when we shot the opening sequence, like the credit sequence that year, there's like a magazine over my arm or my hands under a pillow, And then when we shot, then the first episode, when I got the cast off, your arm kind of atrophies after a while. So I had to do all these exercises, and they had me come in and pick up the cat. I had to run in carrying the cat and then put the cat down or something like that. And I said, oh my God, guys, like, I don't know if I can do this. And they said, it'll be super quick, do it. And so I went in, I wish people could see this who are listening, but I went in and I had the cat and I put it down like this. And then I took my left arm, I like pushed my right arm up in the air and was like, oh my God, like you're supposed to act like you're surprised. And so I had to use the left arm to lift my right arm to put my hands in the air. It was such a fiasco. And it was just, oh man, that cat.
Did you also have to deal with animal handlers?
Oh, yes.
Actors are always saying the animal handlers do not mess around either. Do not fuck with them.
No.
Don't touch the cat when it's working.
That's exactly right. No, that is exactly right. They are this is not a toy. And do not, that cat is not you, because I had to work with a monkey once. I had to work with a monkey on Clueless, and I just went, this is unbelievable. And those little monkeys with the big arms, they want to hug you, they're cute. They want to hug you, and the handlers are hands off. And you're going, but the thing is what am I?
It wants me.
It wants me. What am I supposed to do? It's very hard to know how to act. You can't be too friendly, but this is your dog. This is your lifelong family beloved dog. Don't touch it. but this is, you love this dog. Okay.
Cool. Okay, Elisa Donovan, we have reached the part of the show that we like to call a rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take as much time as you need. If you desire to be rapid, please be, but you can take your time if you need to.
Okay.
In A Night at the Roxbury, you play Canby, who has a dance sequence with Chris Kattan, Will Ferrell, and Gigi Rice. And you become Chris Kattan's girlfriend for a short period of time when she thinks he's like a hot-to-trot power player. Was your dance sequence choreographed like to an inch? And who made you break more on set, Chris or Will? Or maybe it was Gigi, who knows?
Definitely everyone. Chris and Will. I don't even know. The two of them, every time. So at a certain point, I would ask if they could turn around when they were doing my coverage, because the faces they would make, like the things that they would do, I couldn't even look at them. I could not get my lines out. And that dance sequence is one of the most fun experiences of my career. They had a choreographer. Is it Marianne Kellogg, I want to say? And they had dance doubles for us. And Gigi and I were like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
No. Are you kidding me? We're doing this. And they went, well, okay, but just in case. And we were like, no. And they then had, let us all do it. And it was hilarious. So much fun.
I love that you did your own stunts.
Yeah, did our own stunts.
On an episode of the Demi Lovato Disney sitcom Sunny with a Chance, you play Sharona, a nasty celebrity blogger who wrote something mean about Sunny and Tawny. Your character uses 2 pencils to type on a keyboard, and we need to know, was that in the script or was it an actor's choice?
Oh my gosh, I'd love to say... I don't remember. I was going to say, I'd love to say that it was my idea, but now I think it was, because the nails, they had these fake nails on me that I couldn't type. So I think it was strictly I need to be able to type. It was my idea. Yeah. Because I went, Can I use the pencils? Because I can't type with these nails.
I was very into it.
Thanks.
Okay, this interview that we found from southnewjersey.com says you dropped out of a play at La Mama to move to Los Angeles. What was that play at La Mama?
First of all, that is only a half truth. I got my equity card at La Mama. That's the first union that I joined, was equity.
Okay.
Doing a play called The Baby, which I co-wrote with Paola Belu, an Italian writer and director. And so that's how I got my equity card. And then I was cast in a play by PJ Barry called, I cannot remember. And I turned down the play to go to LA, and I got Blossom. Actually, before Blossom, I tested for 90210. For Tiffany Thiessen's role. Tiffany and I tested against each other.
Oh, but you come back. We're going to get there.
And I did not get it. And I was so bummed. But then I did come back.
You appear in VH1's A Rocky Horror 25 anniversary special, which I was obsessed with. I forgot you were in it. I was obsessed with it. It's you opposite Ashton Kutcher, Jesse L. Martin, Eric McCormick, Rashida Jones, Amber Benson, Bijou Phillip, etc. You all are celebrating the 25th anniversary, and you're singing songs. You sang Rose Tint My World, and they made you sing all 4 parts as a solo. How in the fuck was that?
First of all, horrible, and yet so much fun.
It seemed so fun.
We at a certain point, Wally Langham was in that also, and I knew Wally Langham, right? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, from Veronica's Closet, right?
Yes, and we knew each other outside of that, and the same with Rashida. I knew Rashida too, and I remember us going, "Do you think this was a mistake?" Like when we were in rehearsals, like, should we have said no? Was this a terrible idea? We were all kind of like, "What's happening? Is this a bad call?" And then it was like, "Well, we're doing it. We're doing it." I didn't know how to sing. I'm not a singer. I love singing, but I am not a good singer. And that outfit with the fishnets and the thing and the stuff and Oh, it was, I forgot what your question was, but it was a situation.
You answered it. You answered it.
Okay, you know what? Actually, let's talk about your singing voice, because on Judging Amy, you played Shelby, a hairstylist who hires Amy's brother Peter to play bass in her band. Judging Amy is like a show that Damien and I, it's a shared love of ours. We talk about it on this podcast all of the time.
I know you do. I've heard you guys talk about it. No, because I love it because I love it too. And I before I came on today, I said, I hope they ask me about Judging Amy. And now
anytime we see it. Oh my, I'm so glad, because I was like, this is incredible. And honestly, you were very, like, you and Peter, what's his face? Paul Giamatti. You guys had good chemistry. And I was like, this is going to be like an arc that I'm going to get to follow. And then I was like, 2 episodes. But the point is, you do get to come back and sing at that honky tonk. Mm-hmm. So you're like on stage while Tyne Daly and Cheech Marin are on the dance floor. So are you telling us that it wasn't your voice? And what can you tell us about that day on set at Judging Amy?
I am telling you several things. First, I'll tell you the part that's very funny, and then I'll tell you the other part. But the first part is, when I auditioned for the show, they cast me and they said, we're going to have a voice double for you. And I said, no, I really want to try to sing. Like, I want to try to. So they send me to the music supervisor's house and the composer's house and his studio, and they start to play the song that we're going to do. And he's teaching me, a vocal coach, and so I'm singing, and he's like, no, you're sounding really good. And then so they call the studio, and over the phone, they put me on speaker, and they're like, just listen, like, give it us. So I sing, and I hear all the studio people and the producers like, that was great. That was so good. So we have this singer, and her name is so-and-so, and here's what her voice sounds like, and great job. And I was like, oh, so that's a no? And they were like, we want you to just focus on the acting. Like, we think you're great. Just sing. And so they did not want me to sing.
Oh, and God.
Marcus, I adored him. We had such great chemistry. I also thought they were going to bring me back. Yeah. The producers then told me later, because I happened to work with Joe Stern again, or he used to run that theater on Melrose. Somehow we came across each other again, and he said they had wanted to, and that was the whole plan, to bring me back. And then they couldn't, because contractually they had to bring back other people. There was something that they had to fulfill other people's contracts that
ex-wife
I did not have anything to do with. And then it was over, and then that's what happened.
Well, you were great, and it was really a pleasure to see you on it. I was like,
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. That's the show in the book when I talk about getting the call where I thought that my dad had passed away. That is the show that I was on in the dressing room. That was the day. It was the day of that we shot in that honky tonk bar. And I just went, I cannot believe that I have to do this today. Like, I can't answer this phone call if they're going to tell me that
your brother called you at 5 a.m. or something.
Yes, I was doing Judging Amy. I loved doing that show so much. It was really fun. And Tyne Daly, I'm like, what? She's sitting next to me.
To us.
Oh, she's sitting next to me in hair and makeup, and I was like, do I have to hold my breath? Like, what do I say so I don't sound stupid? Like, how can I sound just a little bit smarter than I am? And Jillian, that's how I met Jillian Arminante. I feel like everybody knows Jillian too.
Yeah. And, yes, we've had her on the show. We love her.
I listened to her episode too. Yeah, I love that show.
You appear in The Dog Who Saved Christmas and its 5 sequels as one of the owners of Zeus, the dog voiced by Mario Lopez and sometimes Joey Lawrence. What was it like to act? No, actually, let me ask this. What was harder, acting opposite that real-life dog or acting opposite the cat puppet?
Without doubt, acting opposite that dog. That dog smelled bad. That dog was terribly trained. It was like, okay, the dog's going to come in and sit down. The dog would literally do the opposite of what you told it. Gary Valentine, who played my husband, I adore him. We laughed. The outtakes from those films should be made into their own movie because they are hilarious. But so often it would just be like, Zeusy, come here. And then it'd be like he just crossed the lens and then be outside in the yard. You're like, cut. So where's the dog? Like, oh, there he is. Okay. And also, they're always lighting the dog. They have like a special light, like a pin light in the dog's eye. Meanwhile, I'm going, can I get some love over here? I'm like pushing 50 and you guys are not lighting my face. Can you please help me? But the dog looks amazing.
Was there only one dog?
There were two. One was the active one, if you needed the dog to like run and do some kind of tricks. And the other one was the one that was supposed to, sit well.
Body shots.
Oh, there are some situations that, I mean, honestly, Gary Valentine and I, in tears, laughing so hard shooting those movies. Like, I can't even, every time I think of Gary and I laugh, like oh man. We laughed so hard. I'd do another one of those dog movies in a heartbeat if Gary and I could be like I do with 10 of those dogs if it was me and Gary.
Okay, so you mentioned not getting the role of Val on 90210, which I could definitely have seen you in, but it was great to see you get to play Val's cousin from Buffalo, Ginger Lamont, nay LaMonica, who is like a thief and a blackmailer, and then you're trying to like seduce David. So you came into that show 6 seasons in, where there had already been like so many well-documented on-set dramas. So please be honest, what was the vibe of 90210 when you went on? Was it a little toxic?
Well, again, I was happy to be there. Super excited to have that job. Jason Priestley, maybe one of the best people on the planet. Truly
love him. Yeah,
he's like the younger Henry Winkler. Henry Winkler, best guy in the business, right?
I see that.
Jason, same, lovely. However, there were definitely. It was clear that some people had already had relationships that no longer did. It was clear that there were a lot of going on that I was not a party to. And so I tried to stay just like the happy to be there person, which I was. By the time in between, I was there for a couple of episodes and then came back again later for sweeps, like in the winter. And in between those few months, relationships had changed. Some people weren't talking. Other people were in love. I was like, ooh, there's so much that goes on here. And spicy. Shannon was gone. She was, because Tiffany is essentially that was replacing her.
Did you watch the show? So did you know the show going into it?
No, I didn't. No, and I feel like I was the only person on the planet who didn't, because even all of
it's probably for the best.
My, artsy, too cool for school friends, when I was on 90210, they were like, oh my God, you're playing Val. And I went, oh, okay. So everybody's coming out of the closet here with this show.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's important to many, many folks.
Yes.
Okay. This is going to be a tough one. We know that you have a good working relationship with both Melissa Joan Hart and had great chemistry opposite Joey Lawrence in Blossom, who then again was the voice of the dog. So if you had to, Elisa Donovan, if you had to good son one of these two people, which means holding each of them on one of your arms over a cliff,
Sophie's
and you had to save one. Who do you save? We just thought the good son is like a more lighthearted question than Sophie's choice.
The good son. I'm sorry, Joey. It's Melissa.
Okay. You're saving Melissa every day.
I'm saving her every day, all day. And now Joey is engaged to an actress I worked with years ago called Samantha, and she's a lovely, lovely person. So she can save him.
Yeah.
She can save him.
What if it was Joey Lawrence, your frequent co-star, and then David Lasher, who you worked with on Blossom also, but also Clueless?
Oh, between Joey and David?
Yeah.
David, all day. Sorry, again, Joey. But David... David is actually a friend. Like, I'm in contact with David. We see each other. I mean,
we love David.
Well, Joey's died 1,000 deaths.
He's died
1,000
deaths. I'm sorry, Joey. I think he's doing just fine on his own.
He's fine. He's got 2 brothers. He's good.
Yeah.
Oh, Matthew Lawrence. Be still my heart. Okay.
I just worked with Matthew, but I can't say on what.
He looks so good still.
It's so stupid.
Okay.
You know how they say, like, don't say anything? Like, these things are so ridiculous. It's like you think we're curing cancer with this
We're
show.
excited for whatever that is. We are very excited for that project.
Yeah.
All right, Elisa Donovan, last question. You appear as Joey Fatone's girlfriend in the classic NSYNC music video Drive Myself Crazy. The premise the premise of this video is that the men are all in a mental institution, like
Correct.
in a padded room, reliving the mistakes they made with their girlfriends. But then, at the end of the song, the men are getting released just as all of the women are getting off of a bus, apparently about to be institutionalized. Did they explain this plot to you, and how good did it feel to slap Joey Fatone across the face?
So they did explain this to us, and for some reason I thought it was okay to do this. I thought it would be really fun to do a music video, and they had just done an episode of Clueless, so that's how I got involved. And I also, before I'm the queen of going, who is that, who's what is happening. And when they were going to do the episode of Clueless, I, again, was like, who are they? And, in the studio said they are like a huge boy band. Like they're a big, and I was like, a boy band? Who am I? I'm like 45 playing 18. Get me out of here. But I was like, I really didn't know who they were. And so I was making fun of them all morning before they got there. I was like, I'm going to request that they sing, dirty Prince songs. And everybody, we were laughing and laughing. And then they showed up and they were super professional and really good and so kind and just like funny and sharp. And then I was, I felt like embarrassed. And I remember at the middle of the day with them, I said something like, I got to apologize to you guys. I was kind of making fun of you all before you got here. And Justin was like, I don't know who you think you are making fun of us. Like, look at what you're wearing. And I was like, I hear you. You're right. I really have no business, saying anything. But yeah, that's how I got involved in doing the music video. It felt great to slap Joey. Felt great.
It's really good. It's really good. I did not remember the premise that's how it ended. I said, this is fucked up. I didn't think it was fucked up when I was a kid, I guess.
Yeah. No, and that we're all like, I don't know how they coerced us to do that, but I don't remember it being an issue at all.
No. Elisa Donovan, this has been an absolute joy from beginning to end. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I have to say, I'm just so thrilled that you guys actually are familiar with the book and the audiobook, because sometimes they just would rather talk about all the other stuff. So I really appreciate you giving so much time to the book, because it's so special to me. And I really am so excited that people are feeling some comfort and peace and joy from it. So thank you. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. And the book came at me at a time when I needed it, I think. And also, like, you're very good at the audiobook. Like, I think sometimes if I have to read a book for an interview, I feel stressed out because I'm a slow reader. So it was, like, actually wonderful to be able to take walks and have you tell me that. And I was like, oh, I'm, like, into this. So
good. I'm so glad.
So congratulations to you. We're so excited, and we're so glad you were here with us.
Thank you. This was great, you guys. It's great to meet you both.
One of my favorite moments from this interview was really a moment that I feel like we've never discussed, but I heard it back in the edit, and it was like an unspoken moment. And I don't know if you and Elisa shared eye contact about it, but we were talking about judging Amy, and she was like, oh, I thought it was going to go on longer, and then I did actually see a producer in later years, and he said he wanted to, like, make me recurring, but they had to honor other people's contracts or something, and she didn't, like, say anything, but you said the ex-wife, which if you are a Judging Amy fan, you know that Marcus Giamatti's character was going through a divorce. This is the characters, but I'm calling them by the actors' names. He was going through a divorce with Jessica Tuck. You know her. She played Nan on True Blood. So they were going through a divorce on the show. The characters were. And she was like off for, I don't know, like half a season and then came back. And it was like, I guess they worked it out. I honestly don't remember. They were my least favorite part of Judging Amy. But but I felt like there was that moment where you were like, ex-wife, and you like touched your nose. And I saw it. And I don't know if you and Elisa had a shared moment, but in my head I was like, oh, they had to honor Jessica Tuck's contract, so like right. your guest stint got cut short, and it like made me actually, I was in the park and I laughed out loud.
You know, in my memory, I think that's what happened, but
But also maybe you just invented that because it fulfills your narrative.
Correct. But Elisa was like giving us what we needed in a lot of those moments. You know, I mean, the sort of unspoken bitterness and drama on the 90210 set that we're all so familiar with. What I really loved was just hearing her kill Joey Lawrence twice. At the end of the episode. Whoa! I was obsessed with that. And then also, of course, anytime I get to hear you wax poetic about Matthew Lawrence, it's a joy. So I'm excited to see what the project is that Elisa is doing with the great Matthew Lawrence.
I love Matthew Lawrence. I would let him spit in my face in front of you. Like, I would let him degrade me in front of someone I care for.
I'd force you to let me watch because it's something that I would also need to see at this point in my life.
I watched The Hot Chick recently for one of our guests. I don't remember who at this point. I'm sure it'll come to me later. But I rewatched The Hot Chick, and I remembered that was the movie where I got hot for Matthew Lawrence. He's, like, so attractive in that movie. Like, he was fine on Boy Meets World. Like, he was handsome. But then I was like, I'm going to follow him on Instagram. And then I went on his Instagram, and I was like, I'm not going to follow him. But
okay, but here's the connection. He's married to Cheryl Burke.
The connection.
Professional dancer on Dancing with the Stars. Connection for us. This is the connection for us. It all comes back. We have 10 topics that we discuss. Matthew Lawrence is one of them.
And he lives within the Dancing with the Stars world now.
He is in that universe. Folks, we hope you loved this interview with Elisa Donovan. She was a total treasure. Please go buy her book. You can listen to the audio like Damien did. You can buy a hard copy wherever you purchase your books. Try to buy local if you can. Amazon is the devil. We do this every week, and we love having you here with us. If you know the show, you know that this is the time where we like to connect this week's guest to next week via a blind item. So I'm going to pass to you, Damien, because I think you've got the goods.
Okay, so we actually were working on this together because we were trying to make it more convoluted. Truly, we were trying to make it more convoluted and sillier, and then we were working on it together, and then Anne gave me the key, and I was like, oh, I got it. And then Anne was confused. So Anne, let me tell you, because you unlocked it. Elisa Donovan, star of this episode, was also in Clueless with Alicia Silverstone. Alicia Silverstone starred in indie film lesbian-centric Catfight with Sandra Oh, and previous guest of this show, Anne H. Anne H. directed a segment in If These Walls Could Talk 2 that featured Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada was not in her segment, but same movie. Jada Pinkett starred in the iconic, also lesbian indie, Set It Off, with previous guest of this show, Kimberly Elise, and also icon, Vivica A. Fox. And Vivica A. Fox was in action film Mercenaries with next week's guest. If you're not familiar with Mercenaries, look it up. It is wild and shocking.
Highly recommend. Really, really, really enjoyed myself watching the entire film. So let us know who you think next week's guest is going to be. And if you like all of the Dancing with the Stars universe talk, you know where to find us on social media. There's going to be more of that at Damien Bellino and at Rodaman on all mediums. That's Damien with an A and Rodaman, Rodemanne. And darlings, we love having you listen to us each week, but you know the thing that you can do that would help us the most, and that's leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, an emoji, a name of an actress that you'd love, or an episode that you thought was dynamite. Those are the things that help boost us up the algorithm and get us in front of more ears, in front of more eyeballs. It's the best you can do for us this holiday season. Thank you so much.
You Might Know Her From is produced by us. That's Damien Bellino and Anne Roderman. We also want to thank our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. That would be Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. Without them, we would be lost. They help us really keep the good thing going. We also want to thank Daniel Sears. He edits each and every episode so that it sounds crystal clear just for you.
Shout out to Gang. All the music that you hear underscoring each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is courtesy of the great Philadelphia band Gang. You can download and stream Gang wherever you listen to your tunes.
And are you interested in some of our personal favorite Sondheim clips?
Please.
Are you interested in what Matthew Lawrence looks like today in this year of 2021? Then go to the show notes. I have to say that my co-host here, Anne, does all the work. She is feverishly tip-tapping in a Google Doc every night before the episode goes live. So please check out the show notes. I know they really are a treasure trove of goodness, and you are going to be like, wow, these two know what's up.
I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing, since we haven't really discussed the fact that JoJo Siwa lost Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God, I can't believe we haven't even talked about it.
We haven't even covered it.
I mean, my second favorite person was Iman, and he won.
Same.
And I
Love
thought
him.
he
Yeah.
was better the actual night of the show. But I thought
Yes.
cumulatively, she was better.
Agreed. The last two dances were not gay enough, and I was sad about that. But I thought maybe that was pandering to the audience.
You and I had this like real like, we were like 2 bottles of wine in watching all of her dances, and we felt like we really found the arc of like where she shifted. I feel like she talked about it in the episode. Like she was like, Jenna really like helped me be one with my body. I felt like confident, and I felt like a sexual woman, like and all of that. But then I did not think that was what was communicated via her 2 final dances. I felt like it was much more like pageantry and much more like how she started, which was like good enough. Like she was a serviceable dancer going in, but I didn't think she was connected to Jenna, and that the choreography or maybe just like the dances were not like, there was not the chemistry that I felt like had been so palpable from like Grease week through, I don't know, like all of the weeks leading up to it.
I totally agree. And I just need her to transition out of like, you know, I feel like that's what the show was like for her to get to the next level of her like Miley Cyrus transition into
like she needs to date like Cara Delevingne now. Yeah.
Totally. I'm ready for like Nicole Holofcener to like put her in a movie. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I want her to like chop her like ponytail. I want her to like go brown, like brunette.
Yes.
I want
get
her
an
to
undercut.
I just like want her to pivot a little bit from. I want her to like be able to enjoy her. I guess she's only 18, but I want her to be able to like go into her 20s, being able to like not have to feel like she has to live up to who she was when she was 12.
I'm really invested.
I know. I'm talking in earnest about JoJo Siwa's rebrand.